Hey, it's Chris Fleming. Welcome back to this month's edition of Spirit Talk. And you're not going to believe this, but right now I am sitting in Wales, in the UK, and we've been filming the TV show Help, My House is Haunted. I've got with me in this really nice old living room, the huge fireplace that there is nothing burning yet, but we're going to be burning these logs later tonight. I've got with me Barri Ghai, the tech guy.
How you doing?
On Help, My House is Haunted, and Sandy Lakdar.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. Now, Barry's from the UK, and Sandy is from France, and she's got her own show there called The Believers. Now, we can't tell you about the locations we've been to on Help, My House is Haunted, even though we'd love to. We can next year when the show comes out, and we can't really share with you the incredible evidence that we've collected and experiences we've collected during our shooting of these 12 episodes. So what we're going to talk about is their history, their background, how Barry got involved in the paranormal and how Sandy got involved in the paranormal. And there's a unique spiritual twist to certain events that occurred in their lives that kind of brought us all together. So let's start off. Barry, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks, Chris.
And Sandy, welcome to the show.
Thank you for the invitation.
You are so welcome. Now, guys, we've been working together for months on this series. We've gone through a lot of differences, a lot of interests, and we've had some incredible experiences. Each one of us kind of investigates a little bit different, but then we have similarities in trying to contact these spirits. I know people out there always want to get to know what got you involved. When did you have your first experience? Even though that's cliche, I want my listeners to get an idea to know you guys better. So, Sandy, let's start with you. What is the earliest experience you can remember you had with the supernatural paranormal?
The earliest?
Yeah.
Well, it was last night. Or the latest? It's early. When it's something is early.
Yeah, like when you were younger, when you were a kid, or
okay. So
how did it start for you that you said, "Wow, there's something going on here"?
So, well, the first thing that have happened to me is not that far ago. It was like in 2013, so 4 years ago, and I've been faced paranormal activity in my own flat. Actually, I had witnessed poltergeist activity, and I saw some jelly. Actually, a pot of jelly.
Mm-hmm.
Just flew in front of me like that, in front of my fiancé. And at that point, I was already involved with documentaries, television. I'm 20, I've been working on the TV industry and working with cameras, so I knew how to handle a camera. And I'm a person who are really intrigued with everything. So I just couldn't let that thing flew in front of me without want to dig this thing up. And actually, all this thing made me wanted to know more. And because I was questioning myself so much, I was like, did I do right? Am I becoming crazy? And at this moment, I wanted to do a documentary because I just finished the previous one, which have nothing to do with paranormal, because I have nothing to do with paranormal. Back in 2012, I was doing a documentary about gangster rap, actually.
Oh, wow.
Which is so different. And then when this happened, I started to dig up, and I said, okay, I want to do a documentary about, is this for real, actually? Because then I made my research, and I've been knowledge that you guys in America do investigation. Like in France, we don't do that. I mean, I've never seen a show about it like that. I didn't even know what was spirit box, EMF, etc. So I decided to get everything. So I contacted you, Chris Fleming, actually, with Ghost Outlet. Like the first person I talked to about paranormal was you, actually. And you didn't know who I was. We didn't know that 4 years after that, we're going to be in a show together, investigating together, which is so crazy when you think about it. And then, paranormal then became starting after the first... at that point, I didn't know if it was going to be a series. I was just wanted to do a documentary. I did my first investigation. it was so crazy. Then I knew that this was for real, that ghosts are real, spirits are real. And I'm in the country that it's nonsense to think about that. And I was like, I can't have think about the fact I could maybe become a mother at some point, and have to lie to my child. I feel like when you grow up, if you could know since straight away that ghosts are real and spirituality and everything, it could make you grow up in a so much better person and think you so much different. So at that point, I decided that once that my country know that it's real, so I decided to do the series because I knew how to handle a camera, I knew how to do films, documentaries, etc. And then the paranormal scenes have been every day in my life. I tried to do a short story, but it's kind of...
No, please, no. That was very interesting. It was great. And it's funny because I keep forgetting that I remember getting your email and saying, "Hi, I'm Sandy from Paris." I was like, "Oh, wow, we got someone from Paris." And, you ordered some equipment, you had some questions. And then I remember when you had written to me a while later and you said you did this documentary, and I watched it, and there was a lot of people showing documentaries that they've done paranormal, like we did this, we did this, we did this. And I've seen some of them, and some of them I watched 5-10 minutes and I'm like, I don't want to watch it again because it's really bland, as we would say in America. But then I took a look at yours and I was like, holy cow, this is really good. And, a lot of it was in French and stuff, so I didn't fully understand. But I was blown away by the colors, the scenery, cinematography. And I remember writing, he says, wow, this is really good. This I'm really impressed. And like you said, who knew we'd be working together on a show years later? It's crazy how that works.
It's meant to happen.
Yes.
And the fact is, the second person I met into the paranormal field is Zach Began. I met him 2 weeks after my first investigation, and actually Zach Began is producing the show we are in together.
Right. Small world.
I know.
Isn't it?
Now, the guy from the UK, Barri,
Yeah.
how the heck did you get involved in the paranormal?
I've been involved in paranormal research for probably 15 years now,
Wow.
professionally.
What was it that you had an experience and you says, what the heck was that? Or what's going on? Did you have something like that?
I mean, it goes back till the age of, say, 4 or 5 years old. I saw things growing up. I experienced things in my house, my cousin's house, places I'd visited.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd see things and I'd ask questions to my mum. My mum was very, very spiritual. She still is, but she gave me information and guidance on spirits because she had experiences herself as a child. So I was so, when you read a ghost story or a book and you want to ask more questions and you think, this is amazing, this is a fantasy. And I was so intrigued, I asked more about her experiences. And although it scared me, it was something I wanted to carry on doing. It's something I was interested in. So I think, going back now, when I was about 10 years old, I went on a school camping expedition to the Isle of Wight, which is a small island just off the south coast of England. And the friend I was staying with, or sharing this cabin with, he was slightly older, and he brought with him a homemade Ouija board. Now, I'd never, ever done one before. I was 10 years old, and it's something you hear about being scary, as many, many people do. And I would never advocate using one.
Correct.
Right? It's not the kind of thing I do, and I don't do it now, as you well know. We did this. We played this game, as he called it. And it was an experience that changed my life.
What happened? Tell me.
We were in this log.
Take us there.
We were in this log cabin, very remote part of a forest in a cabin together. He brought out a homemade Ouija board with a planchette. And he said, let's communicate with the dead. Let's communicate with spirits. I said, yeah, fantastic. Let's do this. And we placed our fingers on there. And I thought he was moving it. And he thought I was moving it. But we were spelling out names and words and seemingly communicating with a boy who had died on the island. He gave his name as Sir something, Sir Heraldic, I think I remember rightly. It was something on those lines. Didn't make any sense to me at the time. And we asked him, where are you? And he said, here. Okay, so that meant here with us, fine. Right. And are you alone? I think I asked. And he said, no, with my dog. So what's your name of your dog? And he said, the dog's name was Fido, Fido. And I remember thinking, interesting, quirky name, almost cartoony in a way.
Right.
And I believed wholeheartedly that my friend Ollie was faking this, that he was doing this on purpose to scare me. And I asked a final question, which I'll never forget, and it said, "Are you in hell or heaven?" And as I asked that question, the shelf in the bathroom next to us broke in two, with all of our things falling into the sink beneath it.
Wow.
And it was loud, and it scared the living daylights out of me, so I threw the board across the room, and I ran outside where it was sunny and bright, and there were other kids playing, and I ran to the nearest class teacher I could find, and I stood with him, terrified. I was petrified. Now, I believed it was a game, and it wasn't real, so I soon forgot about it, and it was all good. A couple of days later, I travelled back to London, went home, went to bed. My sister was asleep, I was asleep. Woke up in the morning, having breakfast, and my mum looked at me over breakfast, and she said, "Barry, did you do anything silly while you were away on holiday?" And my blood ran cold, everything tingled, and I went, "Oh my God, she knows. How does she know?" And she looked at me, and I knew that she knew what I was thinking. You know how you get that?
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I told her. And she said, "I think you brought something home with you." And I literally, I mean, I shouldn't swear on this program, but, you know, it's like, bang, everything dropped out of me. Okay, I'm 10 years old. I said, "Why? What's the matter? What do you think that?" And she explained this. She said, that night when I went to bed, she went to bed herself a bit later, and she heard footsteps coming up our stairs into our landing upstairs where we sleep. And she heard the footsteps, but she thought, that's weird because both the kids are in bed, i.e. me and my sister. And she heard the bathroom door open and the tap turn on and the hall light turn on. So she crept to the end of her bed where she could see through the door, and there was no light on, and she couldn't see us. So she got out of bed, walked into the hallway. My bedroom door was closed. My sister's bedroom door was closed, and she immediately knew. And now my mum is very spiritual, and I think she has that psychic gift. And she said to me, she said, "At that time, I knew that there was a presence in the house, that you had brought something home with you." When she told me this over breakfast on a Sunday morning, I was shitting myself. It was the scariest experience of my life. Scarier than doing the Ouija board. Right. So from that point onwards, things started happening in the house. Objects going missing, taps turning on by themselves. That's your faucet, yeah? We had lights switching on and off. We had all sorts of activity, sound, movement, and general anticipation of fear and expectation of things happening in the house. Poltergeistal kind of activity. And this went on for several months. It climaxed when I was in bed trying to sleep. I remember listening out. I had the cover up by my face, and I heard the bedroom door open, and it was a carpeted room. So the door went shh, kind of, you know, on the rug. And I heard crunch, crunch, crunch. That's someone walking on my carpet towards my bed. And my heart's going boom, 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 boom. And I'm thinking any minute now, someone's going to say something or whatever. And I was so scared, waiting for someone. Nothing happened. And I was waiting there, and bang, I got hit square in the back. And it felt like a small hand, like my sister had punched me, right. Honestly. And I was absolutely petrified. I turned my head in complete fear, and there's no one in my room. My door was open. I fell asleep, too scared to get out of bed. And the next morning, I ran into my parents' room, and I said, "Mum, this is what happened." She believed me. I lifted up the pajamas I was wearing, and I had this fist mark on my back, a bruise. So it climaxed to a physical assault. So whatever this was, now I'm going to say this now, a long story, to cut a long story short, this was not a child.
Right.
I had brought with me, I know now, that this was a demonic entity. Mm-hmm. And it infested my house and affected my family, including my sister and her children and my children. And this has been going on for many, many years. This demon is still with us, but I've kept it at bay, and I've learned to do this. It doesn't affect me anymore and doesn't scare me anymore. Mm-hmm. But I went through hell in my teenage years. Wow. But that was really the first kind of experience, and I've had so many.
What a hell of an experience, Barry. I thought you'd say something like, "Yeah, and the shadow moved across the wall," or "I got tapped on the shoulder," or this woman appeared and was glowing and she disappeared. But no, you brought a
that
demon
would have
home.
been
Way to go,
fantastic
Barry.
as well.
Way to go. Way to start off the paranormal with bringing a
Scared all
demon
your
home.
listeners now, haven't I? But you know, it's something that stuck with me, and it didn't get me into ghost hunting. It took years to do that. I was in my teenage years before I decided to do it. But you know, I saw a ghost of a girl at university, little girl by my bed. I told Sandy about this yesterday, isn't it? Yeah, amazing experience.
Yeah.
And I said to Sandy, I said I could see everything. I could see her hair, her eyes. I could see the colour of her skin, her facial expressions, her dress. But I could see through her. And she was made of light.
Transparent.
Light and colour. Amazing experience. But I also told Sandy how I reacted. I jumped.
Kicked her.
I kicked her.
You kicked the ghost?
I didn't touch anything. I just, you know, side kicked her.
Because you were scared?
Like, yeah, I panicked instantly because you don't expect it.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've had when stuff is on top of
Yeah,
you
but
when you're in
still,
bed,
imagine if it's a little girl standing in front of him and he just kick her.
Yeah,
Even if it's a human, I mean, this is how you do? When your daughter wake you up in the middle of the night?
Yeah, pretty much. I've almost done that before. You know, I'm a light sleeper now, and when my little one comes in a room and she normally does this on my arm and taps me, I go, oh yeah, what's the matter, what's the matter? But sometimes when you're in a deep sleep and they wake you up and you go, oh, you jump out your skin and use your kid and you scare them as much as you scare yourself.
You punch them?
Yeah, no, I've never punched them. No, I've held back, I've restrained myself. But anyway, so yeah, to cut this extremely long story short, it's an experience after experience that I've had over the past 25 years. Or probably more than that now, but it's great and I love it and it keeps me going and it's why we and I do what we do.
Absolutely. And, you know, Sandy, you talk about, you know, listening to Barry's story and experiences from other people as well as your own. You know, you had something go flying across the room, and were you scared for a period of time living there after that?
No, because actually we knew it was coming from my mirror. Like we found out like kind of straight away because of my fiance's mom.
Mm-hmm.
She was a medium, but I didn't know. We never talked about, you know, that kind of thing. She is, but she's not, you know, bragging about it. But she actually knows some stuff. And so what you have to understand is my boyfriend didn't want to talk about paranormal, never, ever at home. But, you know, I was in the TV industry. I was just living my life. Paranormal is not something that you usually talk with your friends or with your boyfriends. Because in France, again, we don't care about these things, you know. So when the poltergeist arrived the first time, John called straight away his mom. And I was like, you say, she will know what we have to do. And then a second poltergeist activity occurred, and it occurred 3 days before I was leaving on my first investigation, which was the shooting of my first episode. So the fact is, when between the first time it arrived, I faced the paranormal, and the time I was shooting the pilot of it, 3 weeks happened, 3 weeks long, which was amazing. Like, I've been to the television for so long. I've never been able to get the amount of money correct, everything in order in only 3 weeks to shoot a pilot of a TV series. I contact you, I ask you spirit box and everything, and I was scared that it wasn't gonna make it until we live, because it was that short of time. And I was thinking, man, I'm taking money on that thing, involved with person in that project, just because I saw a pot of jelly fly in front of me. What if there was some wind actually? What if I've accidentally touched the table, which I knew I did not, but I was trying, you know, to have a
rationalize, yeah.
And I'm saying, what girls are you trying to do right now? Just for this. And at the night, I said that it was 3 days before leaving. I said that to John, my boyfriend, and I said, maybe I'm just becoming crazy. I'm taking lots of money to doing that just for that thing. The night after I said that, my telephone, house land telephone, not my cell phone, which was in my pocket. The telephone was front of the kitchen, and it goes straight in the living room, and the base of the telephone, you know, where you charge it, went straight to the kitchen. It one on the right, one the other side on the left.
Wow.
And we were watching television, you know, and then that happened straight like crazy. I was like, okay, this is a sign that I'm doing the good thing by going there.
Did you see this and John saw this as well?
Oh yeah. Both times we were both together.
Amazing.
And so we were like, okay, this is, we have to follow this. And when we came back from our first investigation, I saw some stuff. I filmed some very interesting phenomena. I heard and I felt for the first time a spirit in front of me. It was so cold, it was the first time. And it surprised me so much. I look ridiculous on our first episode because I'm amazed about everything. I'm like freaking out all the time.
We've all been like that, though. You know?
And so we called John's mom and we say, because so far we didn't want to really share that we were doing that episode. And it's her who tell us about the mirror. And then John told me then, you know, my mom is a medium, because actually I was living in a haunted place for all my life. And this is why I never want to talk about paranormal. I never want to see any movie.
Whoa. Did you just see that?
Yeah. The light just flickered right above Sandy. We're sitting in this living room, and we've got a little light above
Maybe he's
us.
saying I'm going too long.
No, not at all. It flickered twice for yes.
Yeah.
You said paranormal, and it just flickered twice. Boom, boom. 2 means yes. This is stuff I used to do in my house growing up as a kid. I'd tell the ghosts, would they tell one of the light bulbs, would they make it flicker, and one of them would start to flicker. And I said, okay, 2 for yes, 1 for no. And it would flicker 2 for yes, 1 for no. And this just did 2 for yes. And you said supernatural or paranormal.
Yeah.
So it was commenting.
The thing is, everything's put in the right place at the right moment.
Right.
And I feel I quit everything else. I'm just doing that. And I already published a book about it.
What was the name of the book?
In English, it would be My Encounter with the Invisible World.
Oh, wow. Nice title. And how do you say that in French?
Ma rencontre avec le monde invisible.
Sounds so much better in French.
Way better in French.
And yeah, I'm starting my conquest of making people understand about how real this is.
That's wonderful.
Can I ask a question? You know, we talked about this before, but you keep referring to France as being totally against the paranormal and don't believe, and you struggle so hard to get people to listen to you and to take everything you do seriously. Why do you think that is?
About France?
Yeah.
I don't really understand. Once a person told me, I think it could be a good reason, but I don't know. There were so many French soldiers who have been killed during World War II. People are too scared to see their children dead from the war coming back.
Wow.
So it would be like in the 60s, you know.
Vietnam, yeah.
Well, after the World War II, it would be from the 50s. Yeah. But since that, you know, you have the 50s, the 60s, 70s, and people were starting to feeling better, so they don't want to think about that kind of stuff. Sure. And dead people. But paranormal is not only about death all the time. It's also about life, about, you know, opening yourself to the invisible world and the energy, the spirituality, and everything. So
that's interesting, the way you've come into this with that perception, isn't it? My first experience was demonic. And it
Right.
truly terrified me. But as a child, you build up a picture in your mind of all the scary things. Watching films, you know, Poltergeist, Exorcist, all of these films, they freaked me out. But I was still so intrigued.
Yeah, intrigued, curious, wanting answers.
I still looking for answers. I think I'm never going to find them.
It's just the beginning.
But we can do this all our life.
Yeah, well, I already know now that it's the quest of my life.
Well, how did John change his perception then? Because at first you said he was scared, he didn't want to talk about it, right?
Yeah, actually, Jonathan was also a director involved in the television, etc., but more in the fashion industry. He was doing lots of making up for photo shooting, for Chanel, so yeah. He was my boyfriend, and he was like, I faced so much dark. I started with something kind of beautiful, how you say, I think. But for him, it was evil, for kind of like a Barri, but no, even worse, because he'd been grabbed in his bed at the age of 6 years old. Then he saw very awful stuff. And he saw his mother burned a wardrobe that was in the house, because she knows that the evil entity was hunting their house, came from that area. So he knew how real this thing is. And he said, I can't let you go by yourself during an investigation for a TV pilot or anything. Because at the beginning, I knew John didn't want to be heard anything about paranormal, so I didn't even dare talking him like, do you want to come with me doing my documentary? But it's him who totally said, no, I can't let you go by yourself. I'm gonna come with you because I know it's way too dangerous. And then his biggest fear in his life, like kind of hero,
Right. So he comes out with you and he starts doing this. How did his awareness and how did your perception of what he was experiencing change? He's no longer afraid, is he?
It's still sometimes, yes, it is. But we know from now on how to protect ourselves. The need of answers is so strong that you struggle with your fear, but you fight them because of the need of all this.
The fight or flight syndrome.
Plus now, we have our own documentary series,
right?
And we do this like it's our baby, kind of. We created this together, and he's the director of it, and I know he's really enjoying doing that, and taking him back with the believers and the quest of paranormal would be too bad for him now.
Now, how long have you guys been doing it, the series?
It's season 3. We're starting airing now, but we did at the beginning. The first season took some time for us to develop and everything. So I would say now, well, actually, it's 4 years.
4 years.
The Believers would be 3 years.
Wow.
I love the stuff. I mean, I think that the cinematography, the editing, the colorization, everything's
beautiful,
put together so well.
It was very artistic, which is wonderful.
Wine.
Oh, I thought it was water.
She's drinking my wine. You got a Diet Coke.
I couldn't even I needed some water, yeah. Oh, my God.
So in filming the series, you've got 3 seasons under your belt. You're going to be gearing up for a 4th season, right?
We are starting shooting season 3 now.
Oh, okay.
But as we do Vimeo on demand, VOD, as soon as we investigate, we edit, and it's already on demand.
Oh, wow.
Then we start airing on French TV. It's only season 1.
It's great that you've got a channel over there that's kind of, airing your stuff.
Well,
it's Ghost Adventures too, right?
Yeah, it's the same channel about Ghost Adventures.
That's fantastic. During these adventures that you've gone on in filming and documenting Believers, what are some of the incredible experiences you've had?
Well, I saw a door.
A what?
A door who closed.
Oh, a door that closed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which was our second investigation, so it was kind of impressive for me. Then the most crazy thing I saw or lived during the Believers, the energy I felt in a particular castle was really strong, and it's like the first time I really faced that strong energy on you. I say so many things because all the time I experience some stuff, I punch my balance all the time bigger and bigger. So all the time I'm amazed and more and more. And with the believers, I love our EVPs we have. I love what I do.
Yeah. Well, I know you were showing us a couple of days ago. We were going over some of the thing that you call X1 matter, and some of the anomalies that you guys have caught on video. And we were comparing the similarities with our own evidence that we're discovering with different parts of the world. These similarities. What is your theory on it? What do you think about why we can sometimes capture these anomalies and why we can't? I mean, what have you been discovering?
So why we can and why sometimes we can't, I don't have that answer yet. But the more it goes, the more I really think that this light phenomena we see, so there is like the light sphere, regular one, what some people call orbs, but this light phenomena, when it's really little, I'm more and more like 100%. It's a spirits that, can just pick an eye, poke an eye, sorry. Okay. And sometimes it grows up into the X1 matter, which is more like if you could see it as the camera sees it when it goes in front of you, I think we would be able to touch it. Right. It's sort of like a shape, a material. So this is how we call it X1 matter, because because we could almost touch it. And X1, because so far we have so much question about that thing that it's still an unknown. And in mathematics, when you do fraction, you have always the unknown, which is X.
Correct. Barri, you've got 7 kids?
I've got 7 daughters.
And I want to keep adding to this. You've got 7 daughters and a beautiful wife. How do they deal with ghosts? I mean, how do they deal with what you do?
I think they find it difficult. I mean, I think the difficult thing for them, being as a family, is for me being away, investigating. Right. We've been away for how long now? 3 months, filming a series.
Right.
It's a long time to be away from your family, but they are scared. The kids are scared of what I do, but they're also interested in a similar way that I was when I was a kid. Even the not the youngest one, but the 7-year-old, she's interested. She watches my YouTube videos and she goes on her iPhone and she's like, "Dad, lad, I saw your video and it's really scary. And I was a little bit scared, but I know that it's not real." Because she's saying it's not real because she's saying that this was a made program, and we teach her that what you watch on telly is not real, don't worry. But right. I don't want to scare her just yet. Yeah. I think the hardest thing for the older ones is knowing that I believe that spirits are real and I've encountered them. And when they hear me reviewing EVP or watching video and analysing things or commenting or just discussions on the phone, they pick up on it. Yeah. And it scares them. So much so that I may well have brought things home with me sometime. They've seen things. I know
that's what was my next question. Has your kids told you about anything they've seen or experienced?
They have. I hope they don't listen to this podcast. Recently, the 2 middle kids, I'm saying middle kids, I have to say 2, the 13-year-old and the 12-year-old, they have seen what looks like a faceless female apparition in their room.
Wow.
And I'm not a psychic, you know this, Chris, but we build up an intuition, right, from doing our job.
Right.
I don't think my house is haunted.
Okay.
But they have seen things independently.
Uh-huh.
And they've told me independently, and that scares me. And they say it with so much certainty, and I have to believe them. So I will probably have to do some kind of clearing in my house at some point.
Oh, you have to, yeah.
We go to so many places, and during this series, we can't mention where we've been, right?
Right.
We've been to some of the scariest places imaginable, and some of the most beautiful places with intense levels of history and spiritual phenomena.
Mm-hmm.
I'm worried that some of these have attached themselves to us. And I do know, and we know, we can't talk about it.
Yeah, we can't talk about...
But you have had this attachment, Chris.
Right. We can't talk about some of the things that have happened and things we're dealing with and all that in doing this type of work. What's interesting is the differences in the dynamics of the three of us is Sandy's really into the light and the love and all that type of stuff. And have you dealt with any negative things through any of your investigations, Sandy, with believers, or what was always your take on that?
Actually, it's always John who's been attacked.
Oh, okay.
Once he came back, we came back from a week of investigation in England, actually, and during that week we investigate 4 different locations. And we came back. It was 7 p.m. and we went straight into bed. And on the morning, John woke up, and which was weird because normally he sleeps longer than me. And he was looking almost green, so pale and very, very odd, shape. And I was like, well, maybe you should go back to bed. And he said, well, no, actually, I'm feeling a bit odd. And I was like, okay, well, go back to sleep. And he stand up because we were sitting on the couch and faint in front of me.
You fainted?
Wow.
Yeah. So I was like, oh my God. So I jump and I shake him and I'm like, John, come back, come back. It took him like 3 or 4 seconds and he came back. And then he threw up like I've never saw someone throw up so much in my life. Like we had to get rid of the couch to rid of the
rug.
Yeah, it was covered of vomit everywhere. And when he didn't even have the power to go to the restroom, and I knew that actually he had an attachment or something, and his body has to get rid of him.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as he threw up everything, he was feeling so good.
Well, sounds similar.
But it was also awful. And he looked at me with this pretty face and said, I'm sorry you had to witness that. Because it was really gross, to see. But I couldn't leave him just, like that.
No.
And so I support him, but it was very hardcore.
Well, I'll let the listeners know on a side note, John is Sandy's boyfriend, and they do the Believers together. And John's an artist, as I would call him. He has a great eye for filming and graphics and design. But John got to work with us on the first block, Help My House is Haunted. And we got to know him, pretty good.
So just to come back, sorry.
Yeah.
On the light and it's me, I'm always here to brought him the light and everything, and he feels good. So any attachment, attack, which can be demonic or just malevolent, dark energy, it's always him who goes dealing with that.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't want to.
Why do you think that is?
I think because actually, John, all the medium, psychic person we met, they all told him that he could be an easy medium, easy psychic if he just want to, but he's still scared at some point, and he really scared to see.
Mm-hmm.
So he forced himself to say, no, I don't want to see. He's not ready yet to see again.
Wow. And I'm sure a lot of people listening,
So I'm guessing it's easier, to face with someone for a demon that is already scared.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's easier because the sense of fear, which is powerful. Now, I'm going to go a few more minutes here, and I'm going to ask you guys a couple of questions. There's something really interesting that when we were shooting the first block, it came out and we realized, wow, that's kind of unique for all three of us, is, and I'll start with both of you guys, is each one of you's had a life or death situation. Situation that there was a twist in an event, sequence in time, that if your decision or you would have been a few minutes somewhere else, you wouldn't be here today talking to us. Barry, you go first. Share your story.
Yeah, we talked about this, didn't we? So when the London bombings happened, July 7th, I would have been on the train that blew up at Aldgate. And the reason why I wasn't on that train is because I had a £20 note, and I normally get my coffee in the morning from the vendor at the station. But he didn't have any change, so I left it. And I jumped on the train ahead. The train that arrived before. And if I was just 3 minutes later, or had £2 coins on me, I would have bought a coffee, drank it, and got on the train that was bombed. And I might not be here today.
That's just crazy. It's so crazy.
But every day we make choices and decisions that could inevitably affect the course of our lives or put us in a situation. But we have come here together to make this program, and it seems that it was fate and destiny, just the way you explained the believers and meeting Zach. And I met Zach a couple of years ago and had no idea. And I was filming at the Hellfire Caves in West Wickham.
Yeah, I remember that episode, yeah.
But that's the location that I investigate constantly because I have this working agreement with them to support them with their paranormal events, etc.
Right.
And it was like, this has all come together. But I never met Chris before. I never met Sandy before.
Right.
We never met each other. I have never spoken to you by email.
Right.
And all of a sudden we get brought together, but we have this common link.
Sandy, your story.
Well, for me, my story is that I was working at Le Petit Cambodge, which is a Cambodian restaurant in Paris. And it was the restaurant that have been attacked during the Paris terrorist attack in November 13, 2015. I live in front of Le Petit Cambodge. And since I started, as I told you, when I started The Believers, I quit everything else. I didn't want to work on any more TV project besides The Believers. So I had to start just a day job, but I didn't care. It was just being a waitress at a Cambodian restaurant. What I needed, what I focused more was The Believers. So I was working there. And, the terrorist attack happened in a Friday night. And the Friday night was like one of the most busy of the week. And I was working there every Friday night. And The Believers have been sold on French TV, as I told you. And we were with John thinking, like, shall I quit and just live on the money we're going to earn because of the TV? And I said, well, maybe I should keep at least a weekend on Le Petit Cambodge. And John said, well, we're going to believe in The Believers and you're going to quit. So I quit the job. And 3 weeks after that, the attack happened. And I live just in front of the restaurant. So every time I was walking in front of it, I was stopping because all my friends were there, my ex-coworker, etc. I stopped it there at the restaurant just to see my friend, and we were like, "Oh, you wanna eat here?" And I was like, "No, okay, I'm tired tonight. I'm just gonna go back to my flat." And an hour later, everything happened, but it was awful because I witnessed everything, and it was all my friends who was working. And you can see that people are shooting at the place, that you know everyone, and you can't do anything because the terrorists are just right in front of you. So you just have to stay in your flat and wait and pray.
Did anyone you know get hurt?
One was injured in the leg, but that's okay.
Thank God.
Yeah, it's only tourists who actually have been touched.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Weirdly, that night too, all the person who worked that night wasn't supposed to work. It was other person, and they all changed the planning. Anyway.
What about you, Chris? I remember you talked about your experience.
I've talked about this on future podcasts, but for those that haven't listened to it, 2 years ago, there's three different instances, but I'll talk about two of them. The one in particular was I went to Costa Rica, and ironically, a couple weeks before going on this trip, my friend invited me, and I was like, you know what? I haven't gone anywhere in a while. I need to get away. So he says, I've got the hotel room enough to pay for it. Just, get a flight. So I bought a flight with some of my miles, and I was looking forward to it. But then I started having this dreaded feeling that I was going to pass away. I had the feeling that I wasn't going to be coming back. And I remember telling this one girl I knew, I said, we need to go to dinner soon because you might not see me again. She's like, why do you keep saying that? I said, I don't know. And I told one of my good friends about 5 days before I was supposed to leave, I said, I texted him and I said, listen, I want you to understand something. I have a feeling I'm going to pass away on this trip. He says, then why the hell are you going? I said, because there's another part of me that says that I have to go regardless. Like there's a lesson involved with this. And I said, but I want you to know, and I want to go on record that if I don't come back, I knew that this was going to happen. And I went to see my mom the day before I left, and I gave her a hug. And then I had this sick feeling that I sat down with her and I told her I loved her. And she's like, well, why are you getting all sappy on me? She says, I'll see you when you get back. I said, Mom, I just have a feeling something's going to happen. She was like, what? And I told her, she goes, well, Chris, you know what I've always told you, what we've gone through growing up is if you get that feeling when you get to the airport, just don't get on the plane. And I said, you're right. Then I started to walk out and then I had a feeling my mom was going to die. And I turned around and I walked over and I said, Mom, don't you dare go dying on me while I'm gone. She's like, oh, I'll be fine. Don't worry. I said, all right, don't you dare. Okay, I need you. She's like, all right, I'll see you when you get back. So I woke up in the morning at 5:15. The alarm went off and I went to reach for it. And a voice says, remember this number. And then I realized it wasn't my alarm that went off. There was these bells that came from somewhere, 5:15 in the morning. And I looked and I'm like, I didn't even set my alarm. I said, okay, 515. I'll remember this number. Later that day, I get up, going through stuff, and I realize that my flight leaves at 5:15 in the morning the next day. And I'm like, oh my God, it's going to be something with the flight. So I'm thinking there's going to be something wrong with the airplane. I said, well, I need to go there because if there's something wrong with the airplane, I need to tell them and I need to tell other people, do not get on this plane. So I'm walking through O'Hare Airport and I'm thinking about this in my head. And I decided to stop at McDonald's, get a cup of coffee and an Egg McMuffin. And I get I was hungry, it's early in the morning. And I get the receipt and it says 517 and I start laughing. I said, oh, universe, you blew it. You could have done 515, right? The voice says, look up. I look up and I'm standing right underneath the number 515. So now I have 3 different numbers, all 515. And I realize this is something very important going on here. Well, I get to the airplane, get on the airplane, and I don't feel anything. And I'm like, all right, it's not the plane. It's got to be something else. I land in San Jose, Costa Rica. My buddy gets off. I tell him about the 515, and he doesn't believe in this stuff. We go sit at the pool, and while we're at the pool, he says, why don't you ask the universe for something else? I said, okay, I will. So I say to the universe, I said, all right, give me another sign that has to do with this 515, but it's something different. So all of a sudden, I start seeing this pink and magenta every time I close my eyes. And so I open up my eyes and look at the clouds, and one of the clouds all of a sudden turns into a pink and magenta. Now I'm thinking maybe it's the spectrum, the sun's doing something to the cloud. My buddy looks up, he says, no, it's white, it's white. I said, I'm seeing this magenta. But I felt it was alive. So I decided I go on my phone, I look up 515, I look up magenta, and they both say the same thing, that you're on a very important journey right now. You're in the right place, right time. Something very significant is going to happen. You have to pay attention to your angels and you have to listen to your intuition. And if you get through this, some amazing things are going to happen in your life. Okay. So my buddy says, well, why don't you ask for something else? I said, all right, I will. Universe, have a woman come up to me. Tell me something I need to know about myself, what I need to change, what I need to work on. and have them say, I have a message for you. My buddy's like, you think it's going to happen? I said, it's happened in the past. The universe does strange things. So 5 days later, we're at this bar, and we've had some crazy nights going out to the bars, having fun in Costa Rica. And I just want to hang out with my buddy, and I have a drink. And all of a sudden, this girl's trying to get my attention on the other side of the bar. She's waving, like, come here, come here. And I'm like, no, man, I just want to sit here, have a drink with my buddy. I'm tired. All of a sudden, I get tapped on the shoulder, and I turn around. There she is. She's got her arms crossed. She looks at me. She goes, I've been trying to get your attention. I said, why? She goes, because I have a message for you. And I stop, and I look at her, and I look at my buddy. I said, Mike. He's like, what? She said she has a message for me. He's like, what? Are you kidding me? I said, no. He goes, do you think this is it? I said, come here. Be my witness. He sits down. She's like, see, you're ignoring me. You're not paying attention to me. And I said, whoa. I said, you have my undivided attention. Go ahead. And she starts rattling off all these things that are all true. And I'm sitting there going, okay, yeah. She goes, now do you want to tell me to get the hell out of here and just leave you alone? I said, no. And I looked up. I said, universe, thank you so much. I got up. I gave her a hug. And I'm thinking, what can I do for you? And I said, universe, can you tell me what I need to tell her? And all of a sudden, I get all this information. I start delivering it to her. She was like, how did you know this? She's getting all teary-eyed. I said, it's my gift to you. And I said, please, order a drink. It's on me. Sit with me. I want you as company because obviously the universe just used you to get to me. Please spend time with me. So we're talking. All of a sudden, the lights go on. Here's where it gets interesting. The lights go on. And we're like, we're out of here. I said, it's bar time. We got to go. I said, okay. So we walk outside. She goes, we really should take a cab. We shouldn't be walking out here at night. I says, don't worry. I know martial arts. I can fight, And, I had a couple drinks. And I'm like, I'm fine. She goes, well, you got this big watch. You got your iPhone. People will mug you and steal stuff there. I said, trust me. Don't worry. Well, as we're walking, I said, I'm going to walk to the hotel. It's such a beautiful night. This car goes by. Tinted windows. Muffler. Something strange about it. Your intuition's like, something's not right. Well, after the third time it drives by and there's nobody else on the street, they were all jumped in cabs. There's no cabs to be seen. She's like, oh my God, her intuition's going off. She goes, we got to get in a cab. I said, don't worry. And I see the car pull around again. And then I know they've been eyeing us. They're going to do something. And then I hear this voice in my head, choose. Choose what? All of a sudden, this cab comes out of the alley right next to us, out of the blue, in between us and this car, pulls up in front of it, and it says, choose. And I'm looking at this car because I know what they want to do. And I'm mad because I know exactly that they don't have good intentions. And then a voice says, Chris, it's not about you. What about the safety of this girl? And I'm like, shit, you're right. So I grab her, I throw her into the cab, I jump in the cab, even though I didn't want to, because I want to face whoever this is. All of a sudden the car floors it right behind us, puts on the brights, honks the horn like they're totally angry, and then they take off going about 70, 80 miles an hour. I mean, burning tires. We hear like, and the cab driver's, what the heck? And I look at her, and then all of a sudden, whoosh, all these images go through my head of myself, and I see myself sitting in an emergency room. My lungs are punctured. I've got an oxygen tank out. I'm unconscious, and I'm dying. And then I see myself die. And I look at her, I go, you just saved my life. Because I told you we had to get in the cab. And I realized I chose wisely, that if I stayed out there to confront them, they were going to shoot me or stab me, take my wallet, take my watch, take my phone, just for that. I get to the hotel. I tell my buddy Mike, you're not going to believe this. The next morning, I get a message from my sister, call me. It's important. So I jump on the Wi-Fi. I call her. My mom's in the hospital going in for emergency surgery. They found 2 blood clots in her, and they don't think she's going to make it. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So I said, I know what I can do. I'm in Costa Rica. I can't fly home. I'm not going to make it in time. So I got into the ocean and I prayed. I said, I told you I didn't want to die and I knew I was going to possibly die. Well, I didn't die last night, so I'm here to pray. And I prayed out in the water for a while, went on Facebook and social media and messaged on my Facebook, within 2 hours, we had 500 people commenting, praying. I said, please, I need everybody to pray. I said, that's the way it is. A couple hours later, I get a phone call from my step. He goes, well, first thing he says, it's a miracle. I go, why is that? He's like, she survived. They found 2 other blood clots. She had 4 blood clots. The doctors say there's no way she should have survived, but she did. And I go, what's she doing now? She's eating right now. She's eating right now. And my mom gets on I go, can I talk to her? So I get on the phone. My mom's like, I'm not supposed to be here, but I heard you calling me back. And you weren't alone. I said, Mom, I had 500 people praying for you. She goes, well, I'm here now. And I realized I almost died. And if I did die, my mom would have died too. So sometimes our choices, it's not about us, and we think it is. We don't realize that the impact we make from just one simple decision not only affects us, but affects other people. And then here we are today, all 3 of us that have gone through some little decision we made in a place and time that something happened, prevented us from disaster and obviously mortality. And now we're all dead silent.
Yeah. Food for thought.
But I want to thank you guys for coming on here, sharing your stories.
To you.
And I know how 3 of us are excited. We just wrapped last night the 12th episode for season 1 of Help My House is Haunted. And tomorrow we're shooting a few things with some of the evidence and some drive shots. And then we're all headed home.
It's been a wild ride.
It has.
I loved it.
So did I. Are you guys excited?
Yeah, I just can't wait to see the final package of everything.
Absolutely.
Really channel early 2018.
Correct.
And it'll air in the US.
Hopefully, U.S. and other countries as well. Any last words you guys want to say before we sign off?
I love you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you. Love you guys too.
Love you, everyone.
Thank you for sharing this journey and putting up with me. Those who have worked with me know.
Thank you for all the
listeners. He is one tough cookie. Indestructible as well.
That's right.
Oh,
Push
yeah.
everybody.
This big guy.
And I want to thank Owen, who's sitting there on the floor. Owen is our sound guy and Help My House is Haunted, and he was kind enough to hook us all up with these microphones, and he's been sitting there staying awake.
I think he's enjoyed it.
I think he's enjoyed it too. Thank you. Thank you, Owen. Say hi to everybody, Owen. Hi, everybody. Owen's great. One of the best sound guys I've ever worked with, and I can say that honestly. He's had some incredible experiences too, which we may or may not get to see in the show. We'll see. But we've got to run because dinner is ready, and we're all living together in this one house on a beautiful mountainside with lambs, shrubbery, and no Wi-Fi.
And rams.
And rams.
Thank you, Chris.
Cheers,
Welcome.
Chris.
For everybody listening, this is Chris Fleming, Sandy Lakdar, Gary Bye.
Gary.
Oh my God. Dyslexia, lack of sleep. Barry Ghai, Chris Fleming, Sandy Lakdar, and Owen, the sound guy. I'll see you guys next month. Thanks.
Bye.
It was awesome. Thanks, guys.
That's a good job.